Today, car buyers are shopping online, in-store, and everything in between. Retail 360, Cox Automotive's suite of connected end-to-end tools, empowers your dealership to deliver the seamless experience consumers want. Reach out to your rep to learn more.
Welcome to Daily Drive for Thursday, August 14th, 2025. I'm Kellen Walker in Las Vegas. Today on the show, EV registrations rise in June, but market share drops. Meanwhile, charging networks surge ahead, and automaker incentives are on the rise. Plus, our own Carly Schaffner joins us from Monterey Car Week in California.
The Acura RSX debuts American Honda's battery-powered platform that will power the Zero Series EVs that will be forthcoming from both brands. So that's a big deal.
Let's run through all the news you need to know to keep up in the auto industry. New U.S. electric vehicle registrations rose 4.6% in June from a year earlier. Tesla fell again, General Motors surged. But according to S&P Global Mobility data, EV market share fell for the month and stayed flat for the first half of the year. June's 113,460 EV registrations represented 8.6% of U.S. light vehicle market share. That's down from 8.8% a year earlier. Despite falling EV share in the U.S., fast charging networks are surging ahead. According to charger operators and a new report from EV data analytics firm Perrin, the growth is fueled by automaker funding and growing competition. In the second quarter, fast charging networks added more than 4,200 ports and 784 new stations. That brings the U.S. total to about 59,700 ports and almost 11,700 locations. Perrin projects 16,700 new ports this year, a gain of 19% over last year. And vehicles from the 2026 model year are arriving in showrooms. That's driving average transaction prices up while pushing August incentives generally higher on older stock. Many automakers continue to offer generous finance terms as low as 0%. That's according to the latest incentive data from S&P Global Mobility. Automakers are also dangling deals and promotions, often deferring monthly and down payments. They're trying to address consumer fears that prices will rise in the wake of new U.S. tariffs. And those are today's headlines. You can find more details on all those stories at autonews.com. Joining me now to talk about the latest EV registrations is our own Lawrence Iliff, who covers the EV market and several automakers for us at Automotive News. Lonnie, welcome back to Daily Drive.
It's great to be here.
As Lauren McDonald of Perrin told you in your story, EV share of the U.S. market has been flat for around 3 years now. Why is that? I mean, we talk all the time about automakers launching new models and offering big incentives.
Yeah, so the EV market was supposed to go through these phases, right? Like with technology, with iPhones and stuff, where you have like an early adopter phase, and then like more people get it, and then it goes through the sky, and everybody has one, right? And with EVs, it's more complicated. Obviously, it's a more complicated device. It's more difficult for the market to shift to make these big things and rather these little things that go in your hand. And so it's kind of stuck in that early adopter phase. And, there's a lot of reasons for that. A lot of elements around the market aren't mature. So, right, the buying process, EVs are more expensive by about 10 grand or so than non-EVs, but you get all the incentives and the price comes down, right? Except that's only for some vehicles that are made in North America and have certain battery chemistries, right? But if you lease, then it's on all of them, right? And so you have to go through that. And then if you can't charge at home, do you have a garage? Do you have a driveway? If you're in an apartment or on the street and you can't charge your EV at home, it becomes very complicated and much more expensive. So you lose kind of a lot of the joy of owning an EV, right? And then there's fast charging, on my road trips, the fast charging. And so new models have done relatively well. Right. The Honda Prologue came out, was a big hit, lots of incentives on it. Right. And the Equinox, which is about $35,000. And that's kind of an interesting case study because I think that's an important part of what we're talking about right now in the market, why there aren't more EVs. There's not enough $30,000 EVs. There's not enough $35,000 EVs. most EVs, honestly, are luxury cars or premium, kind of, above 40. And I think that the good news is charging's getting a lot better, consumers are getting a lot smarter. And also, we're going to see a new generation of the Leaf around 30, the Nissan Leaf, a new generation of the Chevrolet Bolt, also around 30, the Slate little pickup truck, which is from a Michigan startup, around $30,000. So I think, the phase we're going through here may be difficult transition, but I do think we'll get there.
Is 30,000 going to be that threshold we have for a while when it comes to the affordable EV? Because we've heard for years that, we're waiting for someone to come out with the $20,000, maybe even $15,000 to $18,000 affordable EV. Do you think 30 is going to be kind of that happy spot for the next long while, I guess?
Yeah, I do. Sometimes people like, I just want a stripped car with, roll down windows and all this type of stuff. I just want to, and they don't really behave that way in the market, right? I mean,
Right,
even people who are buying, $25,000 cars at the base are getting some goodies in them.
right.
And so I think it's smart for automakers to make cars that people want, right? And so I think the $30,000 range, I mean, the Equinox is doing great because it's like $35,000. It's well equipped. It, hits a lot of really good numbers, 300 miles of range. So we don't have enough of those, right? I think that's an anomaly, but I think we will see, kind of, smaller, sportier EVs at a more reasonable price.
And finally, Lonnie, what are analysts saying about where the market is likely to go from here with EVs losing federal support and incentives?
Yeah, that's really interesting because, like, right now, as we are speaking right now, people are rushing out to buy EVs. We've seen like the numbers from July and then some other early numbers because if you want to buy an EV, like let's say in the next year or so, is what analysts are telling me, now's the time to do it, right? Otherwise, you'll regret it. You'll have that kind of, oh, I missed the Black Friday sale. Dang it.
Right.
But and so in Q3, before where we still have the credit, we'll see a lot. And then in Q4, when the credit goes away September 30th, we're expected to see a big fall off. People are like, I missed my opportunity. I'm going to wait it out. But what McDonald was telling me, that, people forget, that they lost the credit, they get back into the market. States might come up with their own incentives. The automakers are obviously going to figure out how to sell EVs, right? And so, prices might rationalize. And then maybe we'll have a more normal market where if you want to buy an EV, you look at the price, you look at the payments, you go get one, and there's, plenty of charging opportunities at public places. So maybe you don't need a home charger.
Perfect. Lonnie Iliff covers the EV market and several automakers for us at Automotive News. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you.
Coming up, our own Carly Schaffner joins the show from Monterey Car Week, where Acura just unveiled its new electric crossover. That's next on Daily Drive.
Today's consumers are using multiple channels to buy cars, online, in-store, and everything in between. And dealerships need to deliver a consistent, connected car buying experience that keeps shoppers and dealers in sync across every channel and every stage of the purchase process. Retail 360, Cox Automotive's suite of connected end-to-end tools empowers your dealership to deliver the seamless experience consumers want. With industry-leading solutions and consumer sites, Cox Automotive connects and enables shopping and buying across all channels. Consider a typical buying process. A consumer might shop for cars on AutoTrader or on a dealership's dealer.com website. At the same time, they might research the value of their trade-in on Kelley Blue Book. Whatever they're doing, your sales team will see that they're actively in market through VIN solutions. When they arrive in your showroom, you can use DealerTrack to build a deal and secure financing options. B-Auto will help you price their trade-in correctly, and after they drive off the lot, you can use X-Time to keep them coming back as a lifelong service customer. Along the way, you'll get the industry's most powerful predictive insights that aggregate data from 7 out of 10 in-market shoppers and AI-led automation that puts repetitive tasks on cruise control. Reach out to your Cox Automotive rep today to learn how you can meet today's high consumer expectations to deliver a more satisfying car buying experience with Retail 360.
Welcome back to Daily Drive. I'm Kellen Walker. Monterey Car Week bills itself as a 10-day-long celebration of automotive excellence held in Monterey County, California. Automakers have increasingly used the week's events to unveil new concepts and production models. Our own Carly Schaffner is on the ground covering Monterey Car Week and joins me now to talk about what she's seeing. Carly Schaffner, welcome back to Daily Drive.
Thanks, Kel. Good to see you.
Good to see you too, friend. So you are in Monterey, California for Monterey Car Week. What is the scene like this year?
Well, scene indeed. It's definitely a big event for car enthusiasts, automotive executives. There's going to be a smattering of influencers everywhere. Of course, the media roaming around like me, trying to figure out what's new and what to cover of the myriad events that are hosted over the course of the week. I am attending 3, starting with the Acura reveal tonight. So the RSX, which is their first EV, they're showing that to a closed group of people. So that'll be my kind of kickoff event. And then we're headed to the Quail tomorrow, which is where they'll have the first public debut of that vehicle. And the Quail is a really interesting event. You know, we're used to covering all of these auto shows, which are new vehicles, but the Quail is all mostly vintage vehicles. And traditionally, they have categories like pre-war sports and racing, post-war sports cars from like 1945 to 1960. And then they have another category that runs all the way up to 1975. They have post-war racing cars, the evolution of the supercar, Ferraris. Kelly, you would like that one, I'm sure. And then this year, they're having special classes honoring F1 liveries. It's actually the 75th anniversary of Formula One. I don't know if you knew that. And then it's the 30th anniversary of the Ferrari F50, the 60th anniversary of the Shelby Mustang GT350, and then also the 60th anniversary of the ISO Grifo. So they are having those special classes. So I'll be wandering around there tomorrow, checking all of that out. And then Laguna Seca Raceway also always hosts the Rolex Monterey Motorsports Reunion, which showcases like historic race cars that feature about 500 or so on site. They run laps around the track in different categories. And then also they have this hill called the Corkscrew Hill Climb. And then they do like timed runs up that in different vintage cars. So that's pretty fun and casual. And then Sunday is the Concours d'Elegance at Pebble Beach. One thing I'm really looking forward to seeing is all the concepts that will be presented out on the lawn before you enter in. And then when you get into the green, which is, you know, the famed Pebble Beach golf course with an amazing view, they have owners bring out their cars. Actually, it's a whole situation. In the morning, they have this dawn patrol, essentially, where they bring out the cars, and they're classic and antiques. So really, really old. Some are, you know, restored, but barely hanging together. And one of the criteria is that the cars have to run on their own. But judges walk around and judge them based on elegance, historical accuracy, and then the technical merit. So while, like I said before, a lot is going on, those are the things that I will be attending.
Wow. Well, it sounds like you have a loaded weekend, which is great. Also, Acura debuted a prototype of its upcoming RSX crossover EV ahead of the events there in Monterey. What are your impressions of the car, and what does it mean for the brand?
So it's a big deal for both Honda and Acura because while both brands have EVs, the Honda Prologue and the Acura ZDX, they are both the result of a collaboration with General Motors. So they ride on the Ultium battery electric platform. So the Acura RSX debuts American Honda's battery powered platform that will power the 0 Series EVs that will be forthcoming from both brands. So that's a big deal. It's also a big deal for Acura because it kind of showcases where they're going to go with design. The RSX itself I actually find it extremely attractive. I know that, you know, styling is subjective, but they had it displayed with this like racy yellow, propulsion yellow pearl, they call it. It's got a fastback silhouette. We didn't get to see the interior, but the hood is very Acura. The headlights, you know, flank the grille, which is like an EV grille. So it's not a traditional grille, in a very kind of like sporty way. It's got a wide stance. It's very athletic. So I do think that Acura buyers and Honda drivers looking to move up into an Acura and want an EV will find this to be like on brand for them. I think that it also gives them an opportunity to conquest from other brands. As you know, EVs, it's kind of it's all like a level playing field now. So people that might be more connected with a certain brand for a gas powered vehicle, but are looking for an EV would be willing to check out, the handful of brands offering them in this new marketplace.
What is this yellow you're saying that they're calling it?
It's called Propulsion Yellow Pearl, and it is a new color.
Okay.
And it made the photos that I took look really professional. So I'm happy about that. I told the team, I was like, I'm definitely into this color. They're adding it for the RSX.
So it's not like the midlife crisis yellow. You live in California, so you know that like yellow you see like on Z06s and Dodge Vipers and some Lambos and Ferraris. You know that really pale yellow. I just can't stand it. But this
Okay,
sounds like this is a better yellow.
it's definitely not a pale yellow. I know butter yellow is having a moment in fashion, but it's a very bright yellow. And I will say this, that if anyone is sick of the muted grays and greens, we're definitely turning a corner away from that. We're seeing a
Yeah.
lot of bright colors, not only the new EVs, but just gas powered vehicles in general. So I think consumers are wanting something a little flashier. So it'll definitely fit that.
Okay, good. Yeah, as long as it's not like that midlife crisis, like old school, like Hummer yellow, we're good.
Yes,
Um,
I'm seeing this in my brain when you say the Hummer yellow.
yeah, you know exactly what color I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Okay, so what is Acura and Honda Motors saying about its EV lineup as federal incentives go away and demand stays pretty sluggish here in the US?
Yeah, I mean, that's a really great question. The EV market is definitely not developing as quickly as they had predicted at this point. And I spoke with Lance Wolfer this week, who is the head of sales for both Acura and Honda. And while they have been taking advantage of the leasing tax credit, the 7,500, and purchase, but Acura is heavily leased because it is a luxury brand, and that's typical. And Acura itself always offers really strong leasing deals to new and loyal consumers. That's one of their pillars. Lance said that the $7,500, their plan to develop EVs existed before the $7,500 and it will exist after. So we don't know the pricing on it. It's going to have to be priced competitively. Now they can take this into consideration that they won't be able to factor it in terms of the bottom line, but they feel confident that this EV is going to, like I said, conquest from other brands and also satisfy their buyers.
Awesome. So, Carly, I mean, you're out there. Like I said, it sounds like you're going to have a really stacked and great weekend. I mean, what else are you looking forward to seeing at Monterey Car Week?
So, in addition to just reaction from the public about the Acura RSX, I'm definitely looking forward to seeing a couple debuts that we can't necessarily talk about yet. But I do know that on display at the Quail will be an off roading EV by Cadillac called the Velocity. We have a story on that up on the site right now. It looks pretty cool. Off roading EVs seem to are having a little bit of a moment because in New York, at the auto show, we saw a concept from Genesis as well. That was like a lifted kind of rearward SUV crossover. So looking forward to seeing that on display. Also, Maserati will have its McPura Cielo convertible super sports car. And then I'll be talking to Andrea Soriani, the head of Maserati Americas, about their strategy moving forward. So I'm also looking forward to that. Karma Automotive, which is an EV company, automaker, but is now focused on energy range extended powertrains, which is another buzzword in the market and the industry right now. They'll have a couple vehicles on display. Also, EV startup Lucid will have a vehicle there. And then Bentley and Lamborghini is expected to be showcasing a couple vehicles. So always looking forward to seeing those exotics.
Awesome. Well, Carly, while you're out there, have some crackers and caviar for me and a glass of champagne and have fun at
Absolutely.
Monterey Car Week. And we'll talk to you soon.
Yeah. I love to follow up with a roundup of all those vehicles that we can't talk about yet.
Great. Carly Schaffner is a staff reporter for us at Automotive News. Thank you so much for joining me on Daily Drive.
Thanks so much, Cal.
That's Daily Drive for today. I'm Kellen Walker. Thanks to Automotive News executive producer Jake Neer, as well as our own Lawrence Iliff and David Phillips for their reporting for today's podcast. You can get the latest news on future products, the EV market, and everything happening in the auto industry at autonews.com. Come back tomorrow for a conversation with Jennifer Maher, CEO of TechForce Foundation, on providing scholarships for aspiring technicians. We'd love to hear from you. Let us know what you think of the show and the topics we covered today. Send us an email at dailydrive@autonews.com or leave us a voicemail at 313-444-2774. And if you enjoyed the podcast, remember to like, leave a review, and subscribe so you never miss an episode.